Gemini, the universe will put someone unexpected in your path in June. Take a breath with me, slow, steady, and open, because something is moving toward you, quietly, purposefully. And though you may not see it just yet, you've already started to feel it. There's a restlessness that's been following you into your mornings, a subtle tension beneath your laughter, a whisper in your spirit saying, something is about to change. You've been sensing the approach of something or someone, but the details remain elusive, like a name you can't quite remember. That's not your imagination. That's your soul preparing. This June, the universe is aligning a new encounter for you. Not random, not casual, but precisely timed and deeply significant. Someone is coming into your life, not just to pass through, but to awaken something dormant within you. Whether this connection arrives through friendship, inspiration, mentorship, or even challenge, it will come with purpose. This isn't just a forecast. It's a soul invitation. Because when the universe chooses to place someone in your path, it's not about chance, it's about evolution. And you, Gemini, are ready. Ready to receive, ready to grow, ready to feel seen in a way that surprises even you. So, as we begin this journey together, I invite you to listen not only with your mind, but with your heart. And if these words already feel like a gentle confirmation, feel free to support this space, like, share, or subscribe, to stay connected with messages meant for your highest timeline. Shall we begin? Gate 1. The arrival you didn't expect, but always needed. Gemini, not every transformation begins with thunder. Sometimes it begins with a glance, a chance meeting, a conversation so ordinary that it doesn't reveal its meaning until much later. And that's exactly what the universe is orchestrating for you now, an encounter so subtle, yet so divinely timed, that it has the potential to shift your path in ways you can't yet imagine. You may have felt the signs already, a subtle impatience with your routine, a desire to explore new places or connect with unfamiliar people. A recurring dream that makes no logical sense but stirs something deep inside you. These aren't distractions. They are signals, inner pulses that your soul is aligning with someone else's, someone who is quietly being drawn into your orbit. This person may not arrive with fanfare. They may not be the type you expected. They might not even seem important at first glance. But their presence will carry a frequency that awakens something inside of you, something you may have tucked away while navigating the busyness of life. I remember working with a Gemini client, Nolan, a freelance creative who had felt uninspired for months. One morning, while working from a coffee shop he'd never visited before, a woman next to him commented on his notebook. What began as a brief exchange about writing tools turned into a 2-hour conversation about purpose, burnout, and unexpected beginnings. That woman, Maya, happened to be a publishing agent looking for a voice like his. Within 3 months, Nolan had signed his first book deal. He told me later, it felt random, but it wasn't. She unlocked something I didn't even know was still inside me. Gemini, that's what the universe is preparing for you. A key, wrapped in the form of a person. And no, this isn't necessarily about romantic love, though for some of you it may turn into that. This is about divine alignment, about encountering someone who sees you in ways you forgot to see yourself. Someone whose energy mirrors your next level of evolution. Someone whose presence, even briefly, pushes you to think differently, feel deeper, and act bolder. You've always been a seeker of meaning, Gemini, and you've often carried the burden of duality, the pull between independence and connection, exploration and belonging. But this person will not demand that you choose. They will honor both sides of your nature. Their presence will be expansive, not restrictive, encouraging, not imposing. You'll feel it the moment they speak. The way your nervous system settles, the way your mind quiets, the way time bends for just a moment. You might meet them at work. You might pass them in a hallway. You might be introduced through a mutual friend, or stumble upon a comment they left on a post that strangely resonates. There is no one method the universe favors, only timing. And that timing is now. June is a portal for you, Gemini. The astrological energy of this month is activating your 3rd house, communication, local movement, and synchronicities through conversation. That's why you must stay open, especially in the most ordinary moments. The stranger in line behind you at the store, the person who replies to your message in a community forum, the colleague who's recently transferred and seems oddly familiar. These aren't just people. They are possibilities. But here's where many miss the moment. They ignore the soft nudge. They dismiss the impulse to speak. They silence the voice that says, "Go ahead, ask the question." You must not, because while the universe orchestrates the opportunity, it's your free will that opens the door. So how do you prepare for this meeting? Not in a way that forces, but in a way that receives. Begin by softening, by slowing down just enough to notice. Walk without your headphones in for a day. Linger a few seconds longer in conversation. Ask people how they're really doing. Be curious. Let your Gemini gift of communication become the bridge between your soul and theirs. You don't need a script. You only need presence. And if fear arises, if your inner voice says, "What if I misread the moment?" Remind yourself that your gift is intuition in motion. You were born with antennae that pick up on nuance, energy, tone. If something draws you in, trust it. You're not imagining it. There may even be signs leading up to the moment. Repeating numbers, dreams with unfamiliar yet comforting faces, a spontaneous desire to visit a new place, or sudden flashbacks to times in your life when you felt most alive and connected. These are all part of the preparation. This connection isn't just for today. It's tied to your healing, your creative expression, your expansion. You may be wondering, why now? Why this person? And the truth is, you've been preparing for this energetically for a long time. All the letting go you've done recently, all the moments of solitude, all the nights you questioned your purpose or your path. Those weren't wasted, they were clearing space. Making room for this person to enter your world without having to compete with old energy. And they've been preparing too. You're not the only one having strange dreams, feeling called to unfamiliar places, or sensing something sacred approaching. Their soul has also been stirred. Their timing is also being aligned. You are both being drawn to the same frequency, like twin stars realigning across lifetimes. That's why when you finally meet, whether it's a 1-hour conversation or a long-term journey, it will feel like remembering, not discovering. As if the future has finally caught up with the past. Gemini, this gate is not just about meeting someone new. It's about meeting the next version of yourself through the reflection of someone divinely placed in your path. Be ready, but not rigid. Be open, but not desperate. Be present, and let the rest unfold with grace. Because the person you've been sensing, they're already on the way. Gate 2. The challenge within the gift. When the unexpected awakens what you've buried. Gemini, we often long for encounters that light us up. We dream of being seen, understood, expanded. But we forget that sometimes the souls who are meant to shift our lives the most don't only bring ease, they bring disruption. Not in a destructive way, but in a way that reveals what we've hidden, denied, or delayed. The person entering your life this June may appear like a gentle breeze at first, a spark of curiosity, a sense of flow. But very soon, they may stir something far deeper than comfort. They might say something that lingers longer than it should. They might challenge a belief you've held tightly. Or they may mirror a part of you you've tried to silence, your vulnerability, your indecision, your hunger for more. This is not a warning. This is sacred preparation. You see, Gemini, your mind is brilliant, quick, curious, analytical. But when your heart is activated, especially by another person, you often freeze in that in-between space. You wonder, what does this mean? Why now? Should I follow it or protect myself? That voice inside of you starts spinning 1,000 thoughts in 1,000 directions. And the encounter that was meant to free you can start to feel like pressure. But pressure isn't the enemy. Sometimes it's the invitation. I once worked with Layla, a Gemini who prided herself on being emotionally independent. Her relationships were wide, diverse, and mentally stimulating, but always on her terms. Then, she met Arjun, a visiting professor at the university where she worked. Their first interaction was casual, almost forgettable. But something about his questions lingered. He saw through her charm and gently asked, Do you ever let anyone stay long enough to see the real you? She laughed it off at first. Then she cried. She hadn't realized how long she'd been hiding behind her adaptability. That question cracked open a door she didn't know was sealed shut. Their connection didn't turn romantic, but it became transformational. Arjun held space for Layla to feel, to pause, to reflect without fleeing into the next project, the next plan, the next performance. Months later, she described it as the encounter that broke my rhythm and gave me back my breath. Gemini, this person may not come to comfort you. They may come to interrupt you in the most sacred way. They may arrive when you feel stable, successful, even confident. But beneath the surface, there's a version of you that's been longing to exhale, to slow down, to feel more deeply. And this person, this unexpected messenger, may be the one to crack that open. They may trigger feelings you haven't accessed in years, longings you've hidden under responsibilities, questions you thought you'd answered. They may reflect back your own uncertainty, not to unsettle you, but to remind you that you're still becoming. And that becoming, Gemini, often begins with discomfort. You might resist. You might analyze. You might try to keep things light. But this time, something in you will know, this is not someone you can charm and move past. This is someone whose presence calls you to rise. Gemini, are you ready to be seen? Not just the version of you that's brilliant in conversation or adaptable in every room, but the version of you that is tired of pretending. The one who wants more intimacy, more depth, more resonance. This person may not be what you want, but they may be exactly what you need to awaken that deeper part of you. And yes, there may be moments when the interaction feels frustrating. Maybe they misunderstand your intentions. Maybe they challenge how quickly you shift your feelings. Maybe they call out your habit of retreating when emotions run high. But instead of defending, I invite you to breathe, to listen, to stay. Because this person is not the storm. They are the mirror. And what they reflect back to you, your shadows, your brilliance, your fears, is the medicine you've been postponing. You may find yourself journaling more, dreaming vividly, noticing patterns in your friendships and relationships that you've overlooked. That's not coincidence. That's the unraveling, the remembering, the inner work that this connection will ignite. And Gemini, you don't have to figure it out all at once. You don't have to define what this is. You don't even have to know what to do with the feelings it brings up. Your only task right now is to not run. Stay curious. Stay grounded. Stay present with the version of you that is finally ready to feel something real. Because while this person may challenge you, they will also respect you. They will not force change, they will invite it. And you, in your own time, will respond. Not because you must, but because your soul is ready. This encounter is not about becoming someone new. It's about shedding the masks, the distractions, the survival roles you've adopted, and returning to the self that has always been waiting for space to breathe. So when the challenge comes, whether in the form of emotional intensity, unexpected attraction, or sudden inner conflict, remember, it's not chaos. It's a clearing. The discomfort is not punishment. It's permission. And beyond that threshold, something beautiful is forming. A you who no longer hides your heart behind your mind. A you who says yes, even when it's scary. A you who welcomes disruption when it comes with grace. This person may only stay for a season, or they may become a permanent part of your story. But either way, they are here for a reason. To push you, to soften you, to free you. Let it happen, Gemini. Let the walls fall. Let the challenge unfold. Let your evolution begin. Not in silence, but in truth. Gate 3. Soul recognition. When a stranger feels like a mirror. Gemini, there's something that happens only a few times in a lifetime. You meet someone, and instead of thinking, you feel. Instead of questioning, you remember. It doesn't make sense logically, and yet your entire being responds to their presence, like a tuning fork struck against destiny. A resonance. A click. A silent "I know you." This is more than chemistry. It's more than shared interests or aligned goals. This is recognition. The kind that bypasses personality and pierces straight into essence. And Gemini, This June, your soul is preparing for exactly that kind of connection. It may begin quietly, a conversation that lingers in your mind hours after it ends, a passing smile that stays in your memory far longer than it should. You might not even understand why you feel drawn, but somewhere deep inside, your spirit whispers, "There's something here." This connection won't always be loud. It may not come with fireworks, but it will come with a strange sense of familiarity, as if this person, though new in this lifetime, has walked beside you in others. You'll recognize them by how easy it is to speak, how silence feels safe, how time begins to stretch and soften when they're near. Let me tell you about Julian, a Gemini client who worked in marketing. For years, he'd bounced between roles, constantly searching for a place and people that made him feel seen. Then, during a volunteer retreat he nearly skipped, he met Theo. Their roles were different. Their backgrounds had nothing in common. But the moment they began working side by side, something in Julian shifted. He didn't say anything profound, Julian told me, but I felt like I could finally stop performing. It felt like home. That's what soul recognition feels like, not intensity, but intimacy. You see, Gemini, you've often played the role of the shapeshifter, adapting, reflecting, understanding what others need, even before they ask. It's a beautiful gift, but one that can make you forget how it feels to be truly, deeply yourself. This person will not need you to be clever or funny or brilliant. They'll simply meet you where you are, and in doing so, invite your most unguarded self to the surface. It might be a friend, a collaborator, a mentor. For some, it may become something romantic. But whatever the shape, the energy will be unmistakable. Calm recognition paired with quiet awe. You'll feel as though life just made a small adjustment and everything suddenly fits a little better. And yet, Gemini, with every soul recognition comes a question. Will you trust it? You, who are gifted at seeing from every angle, may begin to overthink. You may ask, is this real? Am I making this up? What if I misread it? But I invite you to drop those thoughts into the river and watch them drift away. This is not something that can be measured by logic. It can only be felt, trusted, allowed. What's beautiful about this kind of connection is that it doesn't demand anything. It doesn't pressure or push. It simply is. And in its being, it awakens you. You may find yourself speaking truths you didn't even know you'd buried. You may begin to see old patterns falling away, patterns of self-doubt, people-pleasing, or emotional distance. You may even realize you've been lonely longer than you've admitted, and that this one presence makes you feel less alone without needing to say much at all. This person is not your savior. They're not your solution. They're your mirror. Their presence doesn't fix you. It reflects you. And in that reflection, you remember parts of yourself you thought were gone. Your joy, your wonder, your courage to hope again. You might cry. You might laugh for no reason. You might feel exhausted after spending time with them, not because it drains you, but because it strips away your protective layers. This is the tenderness of being seen. And for a sign like you, so often misunderstood, mislabeled as inconsistent or superficial, being seen correctly is one of the most healing experiences you'll ever have. This connection won't be perfect. No soul contract is. But it will be sacred. It may challenge how you relate. It may gently reveal where you hold back or where you try too hard. But the beauty is, this person won't leave when that happens. They will sit with you in the imperfection, not to fix it, simply to witness it, to walk beside you as you find your way back to yourself. And you, Gemini, will offer them something just as profound, your lightness, your ability to see possibility where others see limitation, your humor, your curiosity, your incredible way of turning even pain into wisdom. You will remind them of joy, of movement, of the freedom to feel again. This is not a one-sided gift. It is a mutual exchange of soul memory. And even if this connection doesn't last forever in its current form, it will never leave you unchanged. It will mark your inner timeline, a before and after, the moment you stopped running, the moment you realized you don't have to chase connection. You are connection. Gemini, let this person in, not through declarations, but through presence. Let them see the real you, not the polished one, but the tender, truthful one. Let them teach you what it means to be mirrored in your wholeness. And allow yourself to offer that same sacred reflection in return. Because some people don't enter our lives to complete us. They arrive to remind us that we were never broken. Gate 4. A new chapter begins. When the universe rewrites your direction. Gemini, there's something quietly miraculous about moments that change everything, not with noise, but with clarity. And you, beloved soul, are stepping into such a moment now. The person entering your life is not just a mirror or a messenger. They're a catalyst, a living shift. Through them, the universe is rearranging the trajectory of your path. But not because they hold power over your future. It's because they activate a truth inside of you that can no longer be postponed. This connection, subtle, sacred, disruptive, awakens questions you've been too busy to ask. Am I truly fulfilled in my work? Have I been living someone else's definition of success? Is it time to pivot towards something more aligned with my evolving values? These questions don't come to torment you. They arrive to liberate you. And Gemini, the liberation has already begun. You may notice a new longing for depth in your purpose, a restlessness with surface-level goals, a desire to align your daily efforts with something that feels emotionally true, not just professionally logical. This is not a crisis. This is calling. For some, this shift may look like changing careers. For others, it may be stepping into leadership, launching a creative project, or simply choosing peace over pressure. But what all of you will share is this: the realization that what comes next must reflect who you've become. And here's the beautiful twist. This person who entered your life, they may not give you the answer, but they will awaken the question. Through a simple conversation, an unexpected suggestion, or even a moment of silence, they'll plant a seed that keeps growing long after the encounter ends. And that seed will quietly reorient your path towards something far more authentic. Let me tell you about Clara, a Gemini who had worked in digital strategy for years. She was good, respected, reliable, always on the move. But the fire had gone out. Then one day, during a weekend workshop on storytelling, she met Elena. They shared a casual conversation about purpose. Elena asked, "What would you be doing if you weren't being practical?" The question stuck. It echoed. It haunted. Within 6 months, Clara was consulting part-time and launching her own podcast on women's voices in leadership. That conversation, she said, was the permission I didn't know I was waiting for. Gemini, who is your Elena? And more importantly, what truth in you is ready to be awakened by their presence? This person's role may not be lifelong, but their impact will be lasting. They are the pivot point you'll remember. The signpost in your journey that reads, "This is where I chose myself." And yes, this redirection may come with discomfort. Change often does. You may second-guess. You may grieve what's ending. You may even try to convince yourself that things were fine before. But deep down, you'll know. Fine is not what you came here for. You came for truth, for resonance, for meaning. And meaning only arrives when you stop ignoring your inner compass. June is your invitation to stop settling, to stop overanalyzing what's practical and begin listening to what's powerful. This doesn't mean throwing away everything you've built. It means refining, realigning, letting go of the roles, routines, or responsibilities that no longer reflect your values and stepping into what feels more like you. You may find new opportunities emerging from unexpected places, collaborations that feel magical, invitations that seem random but perfectly timed, sudden clarity about a passion that's been quietly burning beneath the surface. This is no accident. This is the ripple effect of alignment. Because when the soul says yes, the world rearranges to meet it. But the world will not move until you do. And this person, this sacred stranger, has been sent to remind you of that. To walk beside you just long enough for you to trust your own voice again. To speak one sentence that unlocks an entire map you forgot you had. So, Gemini, ask yourself now, what am I no longer willing to compromise? What dream have I silenced that is now asking to be heard? And who am I becoming? Not for others, but for myself. Your answers may not be immediate, but the shift has already begun. You are standing at the edge of a new chapter. Not because someone else is writing it, but because your soul is finally ready to take the pen. And in this moment, the universe asks you just one thing. Will you choose your truth, even if it leads you somewhere entirely unexpected? Because everything is changing, and it's changing through you. Conclusion: the encounter was never random. It was your soul's appointment. Gemini, you've walked through 4 sacred gates, not with noise or urgency, but with presence and awakening. And now, at the threshold of what's next, I want you to hear this clearly. The person coming into your life isn't here to complete you. They are here to reflect you, to awaken what you've been carrying in silence, to gently press against the places where you've outgrown your own patterns, and to remind you of the truth you almost forgot. You were never meant to walk this next chapter alone. From the first stirring of intuition to the moment of recognition, from emotional challenge to soul-level clarity, this encounter is not just another experience. It's a divine alignment. One your soul has been calling in, one your higher self has been preparing for, and one that has the power to change the rhythm of your life from this point forward. You don't need to force it. You don't need to define it. You only need to receive it with honesty and grace. Let this be the moment you stop hiding behind your mind and allow your heart to step forward and speak. Because your time of waiting is over. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, if it felt like a quiet confirmation of what you've been sensing, then I invite you to stay connected. Like, share, or subscribe to this space not out of routine, but as an affirmation that you're ready to walk the path of alignment, awareness, and soulful connection. Your moment has arrived, and the person the universe has chosen, they're already closer than you think.